In the heart of a lush African kingdom, there ruled a just and beloved king named King Dlamini. His kingdom, Balandia, was known for its rich culture, thriving markets, and the deep sense of community among its people. King Dlamini had risen to power with a promise that resonated with many. During his campaign, he declared, "This government will belong to the hustlers, not the dynasty." He assured the common people that his rule would favor the hard-working citizens over the elite. This promise had won him widespread support, especially among the younger generation and the working class. One year, the royal treasury began to dwindle. The roads needed repair, the schools required new books, and the army needed equipment to defend the kingdom's borders. The king's advisors suggested a new finance bill that would raise taxes to cover these essential costs. Reluctantly, King Dlamini agreed, and the finance bill was announced. The news of increased taxes spread quickly, causing concern among the villagers. Many feared that they would not be able to afford the new tax rates. Among the villagers was an old, wise man named Baba Maseko. Known for his deep understanding of the land and its people, Baba Maseko decided to speak with the king. He approached the palace and requested an audience with King Dlamini. When Baba Maseko was ushered into the throne room, he bowed respectfully and said, "Your Majesty, I understand the need for the finance bill, but raising taxes may bring hardship to your people. There is another way to strengthen our kingdom's finances." Intrigued, King Dlamini asked, "What do you propose, wise elder?" Baba Maseko replied, "Instead of increasing taxes, let us focus on improving our kingdom's productivity and trade. Encourage our farmers to adopt better farming techniques, support our craftsmen to create goods of higher quality, and open new trade routes to distant lands. This will increase our wealth without burdening the people." King Dlamini considered Baba Maseko's advice and decided to give it a try. He ordered the establishment of agricultural schools to teach farmers new techniques, provided grants to craftsmen to innovate their crafts, and sent envoys to neighboring kingdoms to establish new trade agreements. However, when the finance bill was brought before the parliament for approval, something unexpected happened. The members of parliament, who were supposed to represent the interests of the people, voted in favor of the finance bill instead of opposing it. They believed it was the quickest way to address the kingdom's financial needs, betraying the trust of their constituents who had hoped for a different solution. Many parliament representatives, ensconced in their comfortable lifestyles, had grown out of touch with the struggles of the common people. They prioritized their own interests and the benefits they would receive from the finance bill over the well-being of the villagers. Facing mounting pressure from the public, the parliament members decided to amend the bill. They removed taxes on some essential items, hoping this would placate the people. However, the overall standard of living remained high due to the still significant taxes and soaring unemployment rates. The amendments did little to alleviate the financial burden on the common people, and dissatisfaction continued to grow. The people, especially the younger generation, were outraged by this betrayal. Protests erupted across the kingdom, led by passionate Generation Z youth who demanded justice and the reversal of the finance bill. They marched through the streets, chanting for fair representation and the protection of their rights, using the hashtag #RejectFinanceBill 2024. The protests were met with harsh resistance from the royal guards. Tear gas was deployed to disperse the crowds, and in the chaos, several demonstrators were injured, and some even lost their lives. The kingdom was plunged into a state of unrest. Amidst the growing dissatisfaction, Generation Z started a new movement called Occupy Churches. The aim was to prevent the members of parliament who had betrayed them from addressing congregations, funerals, or any other community functions. They believed that these politicians should not have the privilege of speaking to the people they had failed. The movement quickly gained traction, with young people occupying church grounds and ensuring that their voices were heard. Deeply concerned about the escalating situation, King Dlamini called a meeting with his top security officials to discuss the threat posed by Generation Z. In the grand war room of the palace, the king gathered with his chief of defense, the head of the royal guards, and other top security advisors. "These protests cannot be ignored," King Dlamini began. "The youth are our future, but their unrest poses a serious threat to the stability of our kingdom. We need to find a way to address their concerns without causing further harm." The chief of defense, General Nkosi, replied, "Your Majesty, we must show strength to maintain order. However, it is clear that the use of force has only fueled their anger. We need a strategy that balances security with dialogue. The head of the royal guards, Captain Bali, added, "Perhaps we could create a council that includes representatives from Generation Z to voice their concerns directly to you, Your Majesty. This could help build trust and find a peaceful resolution." King Dlamini nodded thoughtfully. "A council of youth representatives? This could be the bridge we need. Let us proceed with this plan. We will invite the leaders of the protests to join this council and work together to find solutions." Over the next year, despite the initial turmoil, Balandia transformed. The fields yielded more crops, the markets were filled with exquisite goods, and traders from far and wide flocked to the kingdom. The increased productivity and trade brought in significant revenue, far surpassing the initial expectations from the raised taxes. Seeing the kingdom flourish, King Dlamini called for a grand assembly. He invited Baba Maseko and announced, "Thanks to the wisdom of Baba Maseko, we have found a way to strengthen our finances without burdening our people. The finance bill will be revised to reflect our new prosperity and to lower the taxes that were unjustly raised." The people cheered, grateful for the wise governance of their king and the sage advice of Baba Maseko. The betrayal of the parliament members and the bravery of Generation Z were a reminder of the importance of true representation and the need for leaders to always consider the welfare of their people. The kingdom continued to thrive, and the story of King Dlamini, Baba Maseko, and the finance bill was told for generations. It taught that true wealth comes from the prosperity of the people, wise stewardship of resources, and the vigilance against betrayal by those in power. It also honored the memory of the brave youth who stood up for justice, ensuring their sacrifices were never forgotten. And so, the kingdom of Balandia remained a beacon of wisdom and prosperity, guided by the lesson that a thriving community is the foundation of a strong and enduring kingdom.